Desert night be silent now, for a prince walks alone beneath your shivering stars, carrying a heart that once lifted falcons into the dawn, but now falls like broken wings across the sands. Fazza walks slowly, as if every step remembers a wound he never chose, as if every grain of sand whispers her name, the woman who left without looking back, the love that never returned. His tears are not storms. They are soft, quiet, hidden beneath his breath, falling only when the moon is brave enough to watch a strong man break. Dubai knows his smile. The world knows his courage. But the empty palace halls know his silence. They echo with the poetry he never reads aloud, with the promises he keeps only in his chest. He sits by the window where she once stood, her perfume still alive in the memory of the wind, her laughter floating between rooms, like a ghost refusing to vanish. He writes her name on a page, then tears it away, because the truth hurts more when the ink is honest. He whispers, "Why did you go? Why did you leave without taking my heartbeat with you?" But the night gives no answer, only the slow trembling of the stars, who pity him quietly from their restless distance. He remembers her smile, like a secret sunrise only he saw, a smile that could soften the harshest winter, a smile he thought would stay forever. He remembers the way she said his name, not as a prince, not as a ruler, but as a man she once claimed to love. Yet promises fade when the heart that made them walks away, and love, when it chooses another road, leaves even kings crying in the shadows. Fazza holds a poem in his trembling hands, a poem he never sent her, a poem he wrote on the night he realized she was never coming back. The verses blur in the tears he hides, words melting into the kind of sadness only a desert moon truly understands. He says softly, "If you had stayed, just stayed one more night, maybe my life would still have color." But her absence paints everything gray. The palace pillars, the falcon towers, even the sunrise that once felt like a promise. He walks the balcony where she kissed him once, a kiss so gentle, the world would never believe it could break him. He touches the railing, still cold without her hands, and the memory hits him like a storm he can no longer hide from. He closes his eyes, and for a moment imagines she returns, her footsteps soft, her voice warm, her embrace forgiving. But dreams are cruel when the heart is too hopeful, and he opens his eyes to loneliness again. Tonight, Fazza cries, not because she left, but because she never looked back, because he gave her a kingdom of love, and she returned only silence, because he believed her heart was his, but her heart had wings that flew far away, with no intention of coming home. The desert wind wraps around him, trying to hold him where she no longer does, and he lets it, because even the wind feels more loyal than the memory of her love. He whispers to the sky, tell her I still wait, even though she will never return," and the stars dim their light, for even they cannot carry the weight of his broken hope. The night deepens, and Fazza's shadow stretches long across the palace floor, as if even his shadow is searching for the woman who stole his dawn. He sits upon the marble steps, a place where she once sat beside him, her laughter filling the air, like silver bells floating on a morning breeze. Now the silence is too heavy, a silence that holds him, like a sorrow that refuses to loosen its grip. He presses his hands against his face, the same hands that once held her cheeks, hands that trembled when she whispered, "I will love you always." Always, a word that now tastes bitter, a promise drowned in echoes of things never meant to last. He remembers the warmth of her fingers, tracing the lines of his palm, as if she could read his fate, and still chose to walk into it with him. But fate changes, or maybe hearts do, and the woman who clung to his soul released him without saying goodbye. He looks at the moon, hoping it carries news of her, hoping somewhere she still remembers. The prince who loved her more than he loved himself. But the moon is distant, cold in its glow, unmoved by human heartbreak. He whispers into the darkness, "I would have crossed oceans for you, but you couldn't cross a single doubt for me." His voice cracks, the kind of crack that happens when a man finally admits he lost not just a woman, but the future he built with her in his heart. He walks to the garden, where she once planted roses for him, saying, "These will bloom for our forever." Now the roses sway alone in the night breeze, petals trembling, as if mourning the lie they were born into. He kneels beside them, touching a wilted rose that seems to understand his grief, even the flowers left behind. Know the pain of promises, he whispers as a tear falls onto the petals. Like rain that arrives too late, he remembers her soft footsteps, running toward him, her laughter melting the walls. He spent years building, and now her absence rebuilds every wall. Twice as high, twice as heavy. Fazza closes his eyes and sees her silhouette, standing beside him on the quiet dunes of the desert. Her hair dancing in the wind, her eyes filled with the kind of love he thought would never dim. He reaches out, a reflex of a heart still loyal, but the vision disappears, leaving him grasping only the cold air of reality. "My love," he murmurs, "I was yours more than I was mine." His voice falls into the stillness, lost somewhere between memory and pain. He walks deeper into the garden, where lanterns glow faintly, each one carrying a reflection of a night they once spent together. Wrapped in warmth, wrapped in dreams, tonight those lanterns look dim, as if they too have grown tired of waiting for her return. He stands before the fountain, where she once splashed water at him, her laughter ringing like hope. Across the courtyard, now the water moves slowly, its gentle currents holding the sorrow of a man who has cried too many nights for a love that never came back. He touches the water. It is cold, much like the side of the bed, where she no longer sleeps. He thinks of the last message he sent her, words filled with longing, words filled with fear, words she read, but never replied to. Those blue ticks became the heaviest stones in his heart. He whispers, "I waited through nights, through storms, through loneliness that nearly broke me." He looks at the sky again, searching for a sign, a whisper, a miracle. But the stars remain distant, unwilling to comfort the prince, who has loved too deeply and lost too completely. He sits beneath the old date palm. Their tree, the one she claimed, would witness their forever. Now it witnesses his heartbreak, its leaves rustling like soft condolences in the quiet night. Fazza leans back, closes his eyes, and allows the memories to wash over him, because memories are all she left behind. And yet, he holds them as if they are the only proof that once he was loved by her. The night grows quieter, as if even the winds have paused to watch the prince suffer for the woman who disappeared. Like a prayer left unanswered, Fazza rises slowly, carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken words, his steps echoing across the garden path, where she once walked beside him. With her hand in his, a touch so gentle, it now feels like a lie too beautiful to believe. He remembers the first time he saw her, how her presence felt like an unexpected sunrise in his chest, a warmth he didn't know he needed, until it was gone. Her eyes, he can still see them, still feel the way they held him, as if he was the only man in her entire universe. But eyes deceive. When hearts change, he sits beneath the lantern glow, light trembling against his face, casting shadows that look like the broken pieces of his memory. He whispers, "I wasn't perfect, but I was yours." The words fall heavy, like arrows that strike the softest parts of his soul. He leans his head back, letting the lantern light blur, because sometimes it is easier not to see at all than to see clearly. The love that abandoned you. He remembers the nights she waited for him, how she held his hand when he returned tired from the world, and he wonders if those nights meant anything to her, or if they were just moments she has already erased. He breathes slowly, trying to control the ache that rises like a wave every time her name drifts into his heart. But hearts are stubborn, especially a heart like his, a heart that clings to what it loves, even when it hurts. He turns toward the palace, its lights shimmering softly. Across the courtyard, a palace full of people, a palace full of life, yet empty because she no longer walks inside it. He enters the hall, where their footsteps once danced together, like stories written in silence. Now only his footsteps remain, and each one sounds lonelier than the last. He passes by the mirror, where she used to fix her hair, where she once smiled at him, and said, "Come here. I want to see your eyes." He stops. The memory is too sharp, too tender, too cruel. He touches the mirror. Cold glass meeting warm fingertips. And for a moment, he imagines her reflection beside his, her head resting gently on his shoulder. But when he opens his eyes, only his fractured reflection stares back, a man torn by a love that never returned to mend him. He walks further into the hall, past the columns she once traced with her hands, past the carpet, where she tripped and fell into his arms, laughing as if she were made of light and innocence. Now, the hall is filled with nothing but shadows. He reaches the room where he kept the gifts she gave him. Tiny things, precious things, memories disguised as objects. He opens the wooden box. She carved his name into a gesture she made on a night when she still believed in their forever. Inside it lies a folded letter, a ribbon from her hair, a bracelet he tied around her wrist, a dried flower she once placed in his palm, saying, "Keep this close. It will remind you of me." It does. Too much. Too painfully. He picks up the letter, her handwriting delicate, her words soft, filled with promises she did not keep. He reads them again, though the ink has already carved every sentence into his heart. "Where did you go?" he whispers. "Where did my forever disappear?" The silence answers, a silence that screams louder than any heartbreak he has ever known. He closes the letter, placing it back slowly, as if touching it too harshly will break what little is left of his strength. He stands, his breath uneven, his eyes glistening. With tears he refuses to let fall, but one escapes anyway, tracing the curve of his cheek like a confession he can't take back. He wipes it quickly, as if wiping her memory was just as easy. But love, real love, leaves traces even time cannot erase. He steps toward the window, where the moonlight spills across the floor, like silver sorrow. He looks out at the city, a city that still shines, still moves, still breathes, unaware that its prince breaks quietly inside his own silence. He whispers to the night, "I loved you more than you will ever know." And the night, deep and merciless, takes his words, but gives nothing back. The palace lights dim, as if they too are tired of waiting for a love that will never walk through its doors again. Fazza steps into the quiet corridor, a place where her laughter once echoed, like small miracles bouncing off the walls. Now the corridor only carries the sound of his heartbeat, slow, heavy, bruised by longing. He walks toward the room where she spent her last evening beside him, the room where she kissed him gently, whispering words that still haunt him. "Promise you won't forget me." He didn't. He couldn't. He never will. But she forgot him, with a speed he never imagined. He stands at the doorway, afraid to enter, but hurting too much to leave. The room smells of old memories, soft perfume mixed with the faint scent of dried jasmine she loved. He steps inside. The air feels heavier, as if the walls themselves remember what he is trying so hard to forget. He touches the curtains. They still move gently, still dance with the wind, like the night she stood there, watching the moon, lost in her own thoughts. He whispered then, "What are you thinking?" She turned, smiled softly, and said, "Nothing that would hurt you." But she was wrong. Those thoughts changed everything. Those thoughts took her away. He walks to the bedside table, where she left a small bracelet, the one he gifted her on a quiet evening, filled with hope. He picks it up, feeling the cold metal against his skin, a coldness that mirrors the emptiness inside him. "This was supposed to stay with you," he murmurs, his voice cracking like weak glass. "You were supposed to stay with me." He places the bracelet back and sits on the edge of the bed, a bed that still remembers her warmth, her presence, her breath on his shoulder, as she slept peacefully beside him. He closes his eyes, and the memory strikes him. The last night they lay together, her head resting on his chest, her fingers drawing shapes on his skin, as if writing a promise made of touch. She whispered, You make me feel safe. But she still left, and safety meant nothing. When her heart chose another direction, he opens his eyes quickly, as if afraid of drowning. In memories that refuse to fade, he stands and walks to the balcony, where the air feels colder, where the city looks distant and unfamiliar. This balcony, it holds the last moment. He saw her smile, a smile so heartbreakingly soft that it felt like a goodbye. He didn't recognize at the time. He grips the railing, his breath unsteady, fingers trembling, as he whispers to the night, "Why didn't you fight for us?" The question hurts more than the silence that follows. He lowers his head, letting the wind brush against his face, as if trying to wipe away the tears he refuses to shed. But the tears come anyway, slow, heavy, carrying with them the weight of everything he wished he could forget. He remembers how she used to tease him for being too serious, how she would pull him from his thoughts with a quick kiss, saying, "Come back to me." But now she is gone, and he has nowhere to return. He whispers, "I waited for you. I waited until waiting became pain." His voice fades, but the ache inside him only grows deeper. He remembers the last time she looked into his eyes, the way her gaze trembled, a sign he didn't understand then, a sign that she was breaking away, one fragile piece at a time. If he had known, if he had understood, if she had told him, maybe he could have saved their love. But she walked away quietly, leaving him with what-ifs sharp enough to cut even the strongest of hearts. He turns his face upward, staring at the sky, hoping the heavens will take pity on him and return what he lost. But the sky remains vast, unmoving, unaffected by the tears of a prince who loved too deeply. He whispers into the wind, "Come back, even if only in a dream." But dreams betray him too. They show him her smile, her touch, her love, and then rip them away. When the morning arrives, he places a hand over his heart, feeling its tired rhythm, feeling the hollowness, where her love used to live. His voice softens, breaking into the kind of whisper only a wounded man can make. "I would have chosen you every single day, but you didn't choose me." The night grows colder, the moon sinks lower, and Fazza stands alone. A prince without his queen, a lover without his love, a man crying for a heart that never returned to him.